On this special edition of UI-7 Decision 2018 coverage,
we bring you all the information on major races happening here and around the country, as well as all the polling information you need to know as voting day comes to a close.
Plus, we hear from United States Senator Dick Durbin on the current political climate.
And later, we see how U of I students have been partaking in this election cycle.
This special edition of UI-7 Decision 2018 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea Flores.
And I'm Chris Joe. Thank you for tuning into this very special edition of UI-7's 2018 decision coverage.
It's been a busy evening here at Richmond Studio, gearing up for this special night.
Yes, it has, and our news team has been working around the clock to bring you your local, state, and news from around the world. But first, let's take a look at the weather with UI-7's Malik Caudell. Malik?
You know, wow, it's a crazy day in the political climate, but maybe not so crazy outside in the day-to-day weather. Let's take a look at your 3-day forecast real quick. Definitely pretty typical fall weather. Definitely some sunshine tomorrow, leading into some clouds heading into the weekend, but pretty typical fall temperatures, so not much craziness there. And I'll toss it back to you guys at the desk. Carry on the newscast.
Thanks, Malik. It's been a midterm year like none other, from a very active and very vocal president to a record number of women on the ballot, and unexpected events that kept changing the game for both parties. But Election Day is today, and CNN's Karen Kaifa has the latest from Washington.
In the final hours of the midterm campaign, each party sending top names on the trail.
Everything we have created and achieved is at stake on Election Day.
The character of this country is on the ballot.
Republican candidates face the headwinds that come with a president with approval ratings below 50% and whose incendiary rhetoric may alienate moderates, women, and independents. And while the president has focused on immigration in final days, the GOP wants to talk up the economy, like last week's positive jobs report, too.
Given this economic boom that is benefiting people all across Texas, who in their right mind would want to screw it up?
Democrats see an opportunity with a message of protecting health care and entitlement programs in Republican crosshairs.
Everybody who cares about pre-existing conditions being protected, it is the Democrats that have been fighting tooth and nail to make sure that that is happening.
Suburban districts will be key to whether they make the net gain of 23 seats needed to flip the House. And multiple sources tell CNN White House aides have been preparing President Trump for an outcome where Democrats have control of at least one chamber on Capitol Hill.
We'll just have to work a little bit differently and all work out, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're doing very well in the House.
The president, according to a White House official, not planning any Election Day campaign events. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
And looking at our very own U.S. House race, and possibly one of the most important, the race for the 13th Congressional District. Tonight, a winner could be named for the seat between Republican incumbent Rodney Davis and Democratic challenger Betsy Dirksen-Lonergan. All 435 House seats are up for re-election this year, and Republicans currently hold the majority. Democrats would need to maintain the seats they currently have and gain 23 more in order to take control of the House. Some fairly suggestive polls forecast that Representative Davis will be winning by a slim margin, and we'll keep you updated throughout the evening. And don't forget that the polls close tonight at 7 p.m.
Switching gears to a very important race happening tonight in Illinois, the race to the governor's mansion in Springfield. This race has been an interesting one between 4 candidates, but with 2 frontrunners, Republican Governor Bruce Rauner and Democratic challenger J.B. Pritzker. A real clear politics prediction has Pritzker taking the win by a spread of 15.7 points. But again, we won't know for sure until the polls close tonight this evening.
And staying in Illinois, let's take a look at the race for Attorney General. Candidates for this race include Republican Erica Harold and her Democratic opponent, Kwame Raoul. Harold is a U of I grad, as well as a former Miss America. She has shaped her campaign around tackling the opioid crisis and prison reform. Raoul recently received a $1 million donation from Speaker Mike Madigan, and he has campaigned on fighting gun violence as well as protecting health care, including the right to an abortion.
And in local elections, a new position is coming to Champaign County after being voted on in a November 2016 referendum. Republican Gordy Holton and Democrat Darlene Clopel are both running for Champaign County executive. The winner of the new position will oversee the parts of the county government that aren't controlled by other elected officials. I got a chance to speak with Gordy Holton, the current county clerk, on what he thinks about this new position.
So county executive is a little bit like being mayor for Champaign County, and I think the 8 years of experience that I have as county clerk in terms of improving efficiencies and saving costs dovetail nicely with my priorities of economic development, independent redistricting, and financial management.
The new executive will also oversee county board meetings, propose budgets, break any tie votes, and exercise veto power. Both Holton and Clopel say they are able to bridge the gap between urban Democrats and rural and suburban Republicans that live in Champaign County.
With the Champaign County Clerk Gordy Holton running for a new position, there are two candidates running for the open role. Republican Matt Grandoni is currently the Director of Training for the Office of Champaign County Clerk. His Democratic opponent, Aaron Ammons, says voting rights in the county is something he has always been passionate about. The county clerk is the keeper of all county records, and they also take on state taxation duties as well as taking record of county board meetings.
And now taking a look at elections here at the university, different polling locations across campus have been abuzz all day as students cast their votes. Around lunchtime, you can usually expect a rush at the Illini Union, but today has been especially busy as room 404 serves as a central polling location for anyone registered to vote in the county. Students and community members stood in line for over a half hour today at noon to vote. Before today, nearly 3,800 people cast their ballots at the Union. 3 friends who just voted shared their excitement for taking part in these midterm elections.
More excited to see the representation voting. It was different in the past, and I feel like it's finally going to change. So super excited.
At the Illini Union, an additional room was opened to accommodate the large amount of voters. As for early voting across the county, County Clerk Gordy Holton said the early voting has increased around 11,000 to about 32,500 since the last midterm elections in 2014. We'll continue to have updated numbers for you throughout the evening until the polls close tonight at 7.
Coming up after the break, more election coverage.
You're watching UI-7 News Decision 2018.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
It's not my first time bartending, so.
It's a sausage party in here.
It's fine. I'm very familiar.
Yeah, because you're a sexy girl, Sam. Last thing, totally last thing.
Yeah.
Is that the music, when Momo kicks it into high gear, is going to get a little bit loud in here. So your customers are going to have a hard time hearing you. So you may want to.
What?
As you know, today is the final day to vote. One race that is keeping the attention of Illinoisans is the race for governor between Bruce Rauner and J.B. Pritzker. We caught up with Pritzker during one last pit stop in Rockford, Illinois. There, he talked and greeted voters, making a final push before some voters make their final voting decision. His main point he wanted to get across is to fix the damage the incumbent Governor Rauner has created.
When we get elected, we're going to focus on the issues that are most important to working families, and particularly here in Rockford. Look, one of the very first things that we've got to do is reverse the damage that Bruce Rauner has done, not just to state government broadly, but to working families and their ability to get a college education, their ability to get health care, and their ability to get a good job. We're going to work on that immediately and make sure that our focus is on lifting up the standards of living of working families all across the state.
Everyone is focused on the action tonight, but some action started on campus Friday, getting students pumped up to vote. Illinois House of Representatives hopeful Betsy Dirksen Londrigan hosted a rally on the main quad, and she was joined by United States Senator Dick Durbin. He assessed that most students are already chomping at the bit to vote, given the current political climate.
cards on the table. This is a different election because of this president. This president has challenged the basic values and principles of America. And a lot of people are offended by some of the things he's said and done. His position on climate change, taking the United States out of the Paris Agreement, the only country in the world that is not working to make a cleaner planet.
Londrigan hopes to take the seat away from incumbent Rodney Davis. Targeting college campuses is just a small part of her plan.
The 13th congressional race is one of the most competitive in the country. I got a chance to see how Betsy Londrigan's campaign spent the days leading up to the election.
With the 13th congressional race still hotly contested, candidates made their final push to garner votes over the weekend. For the Betsy Londrigan campaign, that meant tripling down on the canvassing effort. Multiple get-out-the-vote events were organized. Volunteer Max Shapiro said why he elected to participate in the campaign.
I just felt motivated enough to finally get out, even yesterday in the rain, in the pouring rain, and knock doors, because I just believe it was too important to stick at home and do nothing.
The Londrigan team keyed in on voters that have been reliable for Democrats in the past.
I had a lot of great conversations with them. A lot of them were either, yeah, we love her, we're going to vote for her on Tuesday, or already voted, brought everybody in the house. So I had a lot of those interactions, and I had a very limited amount of interactions that I would consider to be negative interactions with people.
On Saturday alone, 210 canvassers knocked on over 8,000 doors in the Champaign-Urbana area. Londrigan said the urgency surrounding the election has galvanized voters.
I think this is the most important election of our lifetime. And the energy that I feel from students is that the students want to get our nation back on track and moving forward. And they want to have a voice in what their future looks like.
Shapiro put the midterms into a big picture perspective. He said it stretches beyond party preference.
It's a fight for health care. It's a fight for holding the 1% and the upper class accountable. It's a fight for racial equality, for gender equality, for sexual orientation equality, for all these things.
The tightly contested Londrigan-Davis race has the attention of many. This morning, Londrigan picked up an endorsement from a fellow U of I alumnus. Nick Offerman said that the school connection is the reason that both are a fan of common sense, decency, and healthcare.
And as our coverage continues, we wanted to make sure that we remain balanced, meaning we hear from both sides of the political spectrum. Our very own UI-7 correspondent, Roger Blanco, joins us with our full coverage for a conversation from the Republican side. Roger.
That's right. In truth, it's pretty hard to find someone. Over the last couple of days, it was hard to find people from Democratic side and the Republican side, as campaign parties and registered student organizations are rushing around, heading to for the final stretch. But I did find someone who actually made time to speak to me and us. I had to sit down with the Illinois Republican President Jack Johnson to ask about his predictions in a few congressional races.
We're looking pretty good, I think. I think Rodney will pretty handily win. I think Haltgren, Illinois 14, who's my rep, will win. He's in a pretty good place. Same with, Boast. They're all looking pretty good. The only one, Peter Roskam's not looking the best, but if we only lose one out of, Illinois, which is a very blue state on, probably the worst year for the next 6 to 8 years, that's pretty good, I think.
So with his predictions, that's good news for some and not so good for others. That's true, Chris. I asked Johnson about his elections, how they'll affect the Senate and House races nationally.
Be interesting. I mean, it's not like it's going to be a huge change from what we've had the last 2 years. There were only 52 and then 51 Republicans, not all of which were real stout conservatives. So I mean, it's basically going to be the same. We might even gain in the Senate, which will alleviate that issue, but at the same time, lose some in the House. So I think they'll remain to be pretty tight, and it's not going to be one party having super majorities, blasting the way through through the next 2 years.
Caught me a little off guard, Chris. I got a little too ahead of myself.
Hey, it's all right, man. It's very, very nervous times, very anxious times for all Americans across this country.
It literally is. But overall, Johnson believes that Republicans are in good shape, and from his point of view. So the polls are still open, but just have to wait to see if his predictions will come true.
Not only his predictions, but the predictions of so many others.
That's right. Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
Thank you, Roger, for bringing that report.
And make sure you stay with us as we will continue to provide updates on these races throughout the evening.
Coming up after the break, a look at your weather forecast with Malik Caudell and more coverage of UI-7 News Decision 2018.
Well, we'll take a break.
Send him a text. He texts me back and say, "Who dis?
The next few weeks, you just made fun of me. Like, would answer the door and say, "Who dis?"
Who dis?"
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.
Well, we'll take a break from our election coverage and see what the weather has in store for us. Weather correspondent Malik Caudell is here with the full forecast. Malik, what are you seeing out there?
All right, and that was a weather shot of what it looked like outside a little bit before the sun set. Definitely some sunshine out there, pretty good time. Now that the sun has set, we're looking at some slight cloud cover over the moon. Sunset about 4:43, about 15 minutes before the show started, and now we're looking at the temperature around 49 degrees. And looking at the local temperatures, pretty well standard throughout the area. You know, you got 49 degrees here, just a little bit lower up north, a little bit warmer down south, not much fluctuation there, so definitely not enough to skip town and go check out what's going on elsewhere. Branching out a little bit further, looking at the Midwest, we're got 54 degrees down in St. Louis, up to about 43 in Des Moines, right above my head there. So definitely kind of a more spread there as you get into the more Midwest area. Definitely things are looking kind of cool, which probably helped to offset the heat from the election. And branching out even further to the national level, we have temperatures fluctuating between 31 in Helena down to 81 in Miami and Phoenix. So definitely kind of a spread there. Throughout the continental United States, definitely looking at some variation temperatures there. If you look at the coast, typically a bit warmer over in Boston and New York City as compared to the Midwest. And if you look at LA, here behind me, 67 degrees, definitely looking a little bit warmer there, but definitely not too bad, but pretty typical for fall temperatures. Looking at tonight, we're looking at 34 degrees with winds out of the west at 11 miles per hour, so definitely not too bad, partly cloudy, a little bit colder, not quite below freezing, so definitely a pretty typical chilly fall evening. Looking at tomorrow, 47 degrees, sunny, winds coming out of the east at southeast, 13 miles per hour. And then looking at the 5-day forecast coming up, we got 47 degrees on Wednesday, branching out to 37 as a low point on Saturday. So definitely temperatures dropping heading into the weekend. We got clouds on Thursday and Friday, clouds on Sunday, otherwise sunshine. Low of 29 on Saturday, low of 29 on Sunday. So definitely some colder, typical fall temperatures. But we'll throw it back to the studio. Back to you, Chris and Andrea.
Thank you, Malik. And as you can tell, our weather correspondent had a little bit of a tough time getting off the set. But in other non-political news, breaking in the sports world, this morning, the Chicago Blackhawks announced that they are firing head coach Joel Quenneville. Quenneville has won 3 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks since he has been with the team. And he's been with the team since 2008, and he was the longest tenured coach in the NHL and was the second winningest coach in NHL history. Owner Rocky Wirtz released a statement saying that the team released Quenneville with his full support last season. The Blackhawks didn't make the playoffs for the first time in 10 years last year, and the Chicago team promoted its 3-year-old AHL coach, Jeremy Colliton, making him the youngest head coach in NHL history.
Back to elections. Don't have a car, need a ride to the midterm polls? No problem. Uber is offering discounted rides to polling locations. With reduced voting sites from previous years, some people will have to travel further than others. Uber wanted to make sure that the millions of Americans voting didn't have to worry about travel inconveniences. They will offer $10 rides to polling places in U.S. territories. A poll button in the Uber app will pinpoint nearby voting sites that prompt users to ride with the promotional code. Uber is hoping to help reduce costs across the U.S. and promote voting. While the excitement for the midterm elections has hit the young generation, UI-7's Bobby McSwine spoke with some students to see how they've been getting involved.
It is time for the U of I to take matters into our own hands, folks. We gotta get out and vote this year. Come over here, we can show you where the polling place is.
This is a sentiment shared by many students on campus. For months leading up to the midterms, students have been canvassing for their chosen candidate. Emails, texts, and calls are only a few of the ways they have been reaching out to garner support. One university student says that the energy comes from the desire for change.
I think a lot of people are unhappy with the current political state, especially since the college is generally liberal. I think people are unhappy with the Trump administration.
The early voting numbers at the Illini Union have more than doubled 2014 midterm election numbers. One member of the Illini Democrats says that heavy student involvement comes from keeping up with political news over recent years.
This year and over the last 2 years, people have been very involved and keeping up with the news more so than in other years. And I think that's a big factor in whether people turn out to vote or not. They're volunteering for campaigns, regardless of where they stand. You know, they can be Republicans or Democrats. They're, out there and canvassing, and they're registering voters.
But president of the Illini Republicans, Jack Johnson, says that so many students volunteered in the midterm elections in hopes of getting enough blue campus votes to flip Illinois 13. Johnson is referring to the Illinois 13th congressional district race, one of the most contested races on the ballot. Though opinions may be split, these students agree that voting is very important and a task that no one should take for granted.
You don't have to be registered. You can do all of that right now, right here on campus.
In Urbana, Bobby McSwine, UI-7 News.
Coming up after the break, we'll round out our show and let you know how you can continue to watch throughout the evening.
We'll be right back.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Welcome back to UI-7's Decision 2018 coverage.
As we continue to bring you the most important information on the election, don't forget that polls are closing tonight at 7 p.m. all across Champaign County.
Also, don't forget that Illinois has same-day voter registration, so be sure to head to your local polling station before 7 and cast those votes.
Time for a little entertainment news. The distance between politics and Hollywood seems to get smaller and smaller with each election year.
UI-7's Maddie Bunton is here to give us the rundown on all things entertainment and politics.
With midterm elections today, celebrities have been encouraging fans and followers to vote through speeches, videos, or their personal social media accounts. Stars are going above and beyond to take a stance and show how important it is to fulfill our civic duty. One influential artist, Kanye West, spoke out to the media that he is stepping away from politics and solely focus on being creative after spending quite a bit of time speaking out on Twitter and in the White House.
He has to be the freshest, the flyest planes, the best factories, and we have to make our core be empowered. We have to bring jobs into America because our best export is entertainment and ideas.
Kanye's tweet was quickly circulated throughout the country, and fans respected his decision to step back. Another popular artist has been extremely involved in the midterm race. Taylor Swift was known for keeping her political standpoints to herself, but she has had a change of heart over the last year. During the American Music Award acceptance speech, she took time to encourage fans to vote in midterms.
So thank you for this incredible symbol of encouragement. Thank you so much for this. And I just wanted to make a mention of the fact that this award and every single award given out tonight were voted on by the people. And you know what else is voted on by the people? Is the midterm elections on November 6th. Get out and vote. I love you guys.
Social media has been very beneficial in celebrities getting their message across. It is a great opportunity for their voice to reach millions of people. Some celebrities such as Sophia Bush, Travis Scott, and Ryan Reynolds are relating their posts to the election. Lastly, actors Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt came together to produce a PSA explaining why midterms are just as important as presidential elections.
The future of our country will be decided this week. Elections don't just matter when voting for president. This election might be the most consequential of our lifetime. So much is at stake, from gun safety laws to immigration policy, clean water and air, and whether or not millions of people have access to health care.
These issues will be decided from the House of Representatives to the Senate to dozens of governor's races. State House elections will determine the future of climate change, criminal justice reform, education funding, LGBTQ equality, and even your ability to vote.
All of these races and ballot measures are a chance to decide on the direction of our country.
And that's it for your entertainment report. I'm Maddie Bunton, and let's take it back into the studio.
There were thousands of people lined up to vote on the U of I campus yesterday, but some students passing by weren't even sure who was running in the election. Take a look and listen.
I do not. No, we do not.
Yes.
JB Pritzker and Bruce Rauner.
Well, and there's also two other people, but they're like libertarian, and then I don't know the other one, but yeah.
I don't at the moment.
Oh.
I mean, I know like JB is one of them, and I don't keep up enough with politics to know what the other one would be.
JB Pritzker, our man Bruce Rauner. We got good old Mickey Mouse always gets a lot of nominations. I think he got like 800,000 votes in 2008.
For governor?
Yes.
I have to go for it.
Well, I was out there with Nora yesterday, and it was pretty surprising to see how many people weren't sure who was running for governor, especially considering our current governor is running for governor.
I was very, very surprised to see that. And
well, before we leave you tonight, let's take a last look at your weather forecast with Malik here.
So like I said earlier, pretty typical fall weather heading into the weekend. We got some sunshine to look forward to tomorrow, but after that kind of leers back out into the clouds. Temperature's pretty steady between 40 and 50 during the day, getting down to the 30s overnight. So pretty typical fall weather. Make sure to bundle up overnight, but during the day you can probably rock your cute fall outfits with your leather jackets or jean jackets or whatever you want.
To the polls.
To the polls.
I plan on it. Well, for more of our stories, give us a like on Facebook or follow us on Twitter.
To get the most up-to-date news, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Well, that is going to do it for us on this special edition of UI-7's Decision 2018 coverage.
From all of us here at UI-7, thank you for joining us, and don't forget to get out there and vote.
And also, don't forget to stick with UI-7 News as we continue to bring you the latest election updates. I'll be continuing to host this evening with Aaron Navarro, bringing you the most up-to-date races at 7, 8, 9, and 10 o'clock right here on UI-7.
There will also be continuous coverage from 8 to 10 on WILL radio. And don't forget that the polls do close at 7 o'clock tonight. And if you're in line, stay in line.
Well, for all of us here, thank you for joining us, and have a great night, everyone.
Yeah, so a lot of different races.